Let's see if we can get started talking a little bit about HTML and how it works in Dreamweaver. Now remember, this whole series is nothing to do about HTML. It has to do with the design way we use Dreamweaver. But if you're like me and you use HTML, I want to give you some ways on how you can access those areas and actually do the coding yourself. So it behooves me to do that. And behooves is a word I don't get a chance to use very often. Go to your Pages folder in our HTML site and open up Code View. As you can see, there's not much here. But our job is not to teach HTML, but just how you can work it yourself. We have the 3 buttons up here. Design is where we are right now. You have a split view that shows you both. And of course, you have the code view right here. One of the things I really like about Dreamweaver, and I won't mention the other programs that didn't do this, because my mother always said if you don't have something good to say about somebody, don't say anything at all. But there are programs out there that if you make changes to the HTML because you want it different, it will turn around the next time you open the program and change it right back to the way it was before. Dreamweaver doesn't do that. If you make a change to this code, even if it's the worst thing in the world, it'll warn you it's the worst thing in the world, but it will leave it alone because it makes an assumption that you know what you're doing. And sometimes assumption is a good thing. Here we are in the code. Let me make that a little bit bigger here. There's our doc type statement saying that we are working in XHTML transitional. Okay, got all that stuff in there. Here's our tag for our heading, and the heading goes from here to here. Heading contains things like title tags and all that kind of stuff, some search words, some of the stuff's obsolete. Everything else just about goes into what's called the body. So the body goes from here down to the closing tag here, and everything that you see so far on our page, which is just this text, is in the body. And then we have the closing HTML tag here. Let's say that we want to, let me take that back down again. Say we want to go back into design for a second, and we decide that we want to give this thing a title, which I don't blame you. We do need to have a title. Untitled document is not a good thing. But let's do it in the code just to show you how this works. If we go to code, it'll already be there. It's right there. It says title, untitled document. Select the text here. And again, if you're a code warrior, you already know how to do this stuff. And we'll call this Andy's Code View. Sounds good to me. And we'll come back down this way. And as you can see, once I get out of here and go to design, there it is, Andy's Code View. I could have done it just as easily up here. And here's where I can go on my rant of the day. I know too many people who, like me, grew up with the code who refuse to embrace programs like this because they felt they've lost the control that HTML gave them. You're not losing anything by typing it up there as opposed to putting it into the code view. Nothing. What are you gaining? Speed and efficiency. There's nothing wrong with working in design. Of course, I'm preaching to the choir here. If you guys have already followed me this far along, that's where you want to be. But understand the code is still there. So let's go back to the code again. I want to add another sentence. So I'm going to come here, and I'm going to press the Enter key. Now notice no P statement, no non-breaking space comes up because we're in code view. So I'm going to press the bracket key and see what comes up. I love this. It's a little helper. It says, well, what do you want to do? I don't want to go all the way down and find P just to enter that. I'm going to press P, and it says, okay, you want to do that? Now if I press Enter, it leaves it open. I'll mention why in a minute. We're going to close it. So we're going to use another close and type in your text. More text. I am very literal. I will press down on the bracket again. Now watch what happens when I use the closing /. It knows exactly what I'm trying to do here. It's helping me out. Now you can turn that off in preferences, but I don't see why. It's a great help. If we come back to design, there it is. Let's go back to code. Now I can come over here and decide that I want to center more text. There's 2 ways I can do that. I can use a tag that's depreciated called the center tag, or I can put it into the P statement. Let me make that bigger so you can see this. And actually, let's do the sentence up here. I'm going to click right in here and type in a line, A-L-I-G-N, equal, and then quote mark. See, it's trying to help me out. If I press Enter, it'll put it in there for me automatically, close the tag off. Now, here's the difference between doing it this way and doing it with an actual bracket center. If you use the standalone tag, then you have to close the tag off at the end of the P statement, or you're going to center everything from that point forward. If you put it in like this, when that tag closes, it closes off anything that's inside of the tag, which makes this a lot more valuable. We go back to the design view. As you can see, only one line is actually centered. So we have all the control we want to. Again, if you guys are into HTML, you're beginning to learn hopefully some ways that you can use that knowledge to work in Dreamweaver. If you're not into HTML, at least it's good to know this, and I would recommend something to you guys. As much as I love what Dreamweaver does when I'm in the design view, and maybe it's just because I grew up this way, I still think you will have more control over what you're doing if you know the code, and you can occasionally go back and forth and see what's happening. Now, if we want to get rid of that centering, obviously all we got to do is take it out right here. Just press the backspace key until we get rid of all that stuff. Return the P statement to the way it was. We go back to design. So you can see the correlation here. Your viewers never see the code. They see the web page. You're not going to get people emailing you on your code. They're going to email you on the niceties of your site. So that's working in the code view and looking at it in the design view. Real simple, actually.